Last time on Square Roots, we blast off for abusive astronaut adventures, stretch the legal definition of a boat, and fold our best friend into a torture cube of infinitely shrinking space. Also, Cloud gives the big, huge materia to Sephiroth, and Seppi likes.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Square Roots, the classic RPG podcast. My name is Jim Banks. I am joined by Matthew Van Zant.
Hey yo.
Let's see, what's a good one for John this episode? Where are we playing to this episode?
We're playing to the end of the rocket.
I think his name is John Meteor Brandon this
John
time.
R.I.P. Brandon. John Undertaker Brandon.
John Meat Ear Brandon. Hey.
I prefer Johnny, thank you very much.
Jeez. He's one of those guys that's like, you know, their name's William, and you call him Bill or Will or Billy or Willie
Mac or Buddy.
Jim, and they get all mad about it. It's William.
It's James, thank you.
It's James.
And Vanessa.
I'm Vanessa.
And this is a podcast where we play and talk about your favorite classic RPGs one chonker at a time.
Chonk.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Good, I have some breaking news.
Oh, what is it?
I'm
So,
on pins and needles.
the winner of the Patreon poll
No.
is Trials of Mana! Yay!
That's not true.
Hey!
Was that the only game on the
Fools.
list?
Liar.
April
It is
Fools,
April
Jim.
1st.
Oh, April. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh no, do we have to do an April Fool's app?
We're
I
going to
thought
be
we were
fooling
better
and
than
pranking
this.
each
Just
other all
kidding.
episode.
We're definitely far too mature for that. April Fools!
Oh, no.
man.
Oh, jeez.
This episode's gonna suck.
Cloud.
Cloud's just a dream of Tifa's that was cloned in Hojo's lab. April Fools!
Now that is accurate.
It's not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's accurate that Hojo and Sephiroth pull a real April Fools on Cloud.
Do they?
They
I
do.
don't
Cloud pulls a
know.
real April Fool's on himself.
I pulled a real April Fool's on myself by not paying attention last time we recorded and not realizing that I needed to play some more.
He thought that our
So-
chunker was a whole 20 minutes long.
Yeah,
Matthew
well.
only got to the beginning of the Temple of the
That's how I
Ancients,
like
so
him.
he's gonna have no idea what's gonna
No,
happen.
that's not true. I think I caught up to just about where I need to be. Barrett was arrested, and I was walking.
Oh yeah, you're
That's,
past.
that's
Barrett.
right there.
You're
yeah.
past where you need to be, so you're good.
Yeah.
And I found a save point, and I saved. Well, good for me, then. I'm not behind. Ha! What are we, 7 episodes into this one? Is this a first for me?
6, right?
Yeah, this is episode 7.
Is it?
Episode
Wow.
7.
Yeah.
Wow, episode 7 of
taking our
Final
time with
Fantasy
this one.
7 is when we
Wow.
cover the big moment.
You're right.
Is this really episode 7 and we're on disc... We're at the end of
Almost-
disc 1?
almost
Is the
disc
rest
2.
of this season going to be 15 fucking episodes?
Disc 3 is basically just the finale, though.
Hey, do you know what we did? We announced the winner, and John made a joke, and then we never actually announced it.
Oh
April
we
Fools.
lost it.
So what's the winner there, Matt?
The winner is Final Fantasy X Part 2! Yay!
Hey, what can I do for you? I can't hear
Oh
you.
boy, I'm gonna have to play that on my PlayStation, aren't I? I can't get that on Switch at this point. Can I?
Ooh.
10 and 10-2, are those on Switch?
I thought
think they are.
So.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they are.
I'll poke
on
around.
Switch. And
Yeah.
I've gotten used to playing the older games on the Switch. It's nice to be able to go back and forth between handheld and...
I think that's
Not-
pretty much
not
the
now.
ideal video game system, except for the lack of graphics.
The lack of graphics never really bothers me.
Lack of
Breath the
titles.
Wild's fucking gorgeous.
It needs more titles.
No, it
It's got a shitload of
doesn't.
titles.
All you need is Animal Crossing. That's the only game anyone needs to play ever.
It need more.
And it's
It's
bunny
weird.
days now.
Bunny day.
What are you supposed to do with all these eggs I'm getting?
You get
Ooh, I know what I can level up
DIY
with.
recipes you can make things with the eggs. John, did you like the last present I sent to you?
What was
Is
it?
it a spice rack?
Was it more garbage bags?
No, it was a very
WrestleMan?
special item. I sent you a letter saying that the item got me totally hot.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
and it was a
whoa.
magic kit. I just expanded my house,
Such a fucking
so
dork.
I'll be able to put this magic kit to use.
Save it for your level up, you fucking nerds.
Okay.
Speaking of,
Mhm.
maybe we should go ahead and talk about how we leveled up
Sure.
before we dive into the game. Unless anybody has anything else they want to say about Final Fantasy X-2. I'm stoked. I've never played it. I've started it once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
fine.
10.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
fine.
Recently watched a speed run of 10. Have had 10 on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Good time for me to play 10 too.
It's got that good feel of 10. Like moving your characters around like a map feels good in 10-2 like it does in 10. The battle system's
How
a lot
similar
different.
is
though.
Is it a lot different? That's a bummer because I really think 10-2 has one of the best. I think 10 has one of the best of the. I think 10 has one of the best of the classic turn-based.
It's pretty
before-
different.
They went nuts with everything being like Kingdom Hearts. Do you think they're ever going to get over that? Anybody?
No, I feel like they've wanted to do that since the beginning. It's only on modern consoles they've had the power to. Anyways, who wants to level
Anywho.
up first?
Ooh, I can go. I've got something
Go ahead.
that I've been meaning to talk about. I started playing a game called War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. Yep, that's right.
Doesn't Exvius just stand for 16?
Wasn't that I think that was the rumor, and maybe it was like an intentional thing on Square's part to like fuck with people, but I don't think that that's official. It is a new shitty mobile gachapon game
Oh, boy.
for mobile devices, and it plays like a Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh,
Not
that sounds
a-
boring.
Clicky Final Fantasy. I like the Final Fantasy Tactics combat a lot. So far, the missions have basically just been like, here's a small map with 4 or 5 things to kill, and none of the like fun of Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, oh shit, I got this huge thing I got to cross to get to the monsters on the other side. But there's, elevation and stuff, so that's nice. Anyway, yeah, I'm not even convinced that I like it myself, but I've been playing it.
Hey, you're trying really hard to talk us into it. I'm not really
Yeah,
getting your
no, I
sincerity.
know that none of you are going to play it, but our listeners might. I'm already friends with some, and if you're on the Facebook group, that's the Square Roots podcast group for smart, cool, very attractive people. You can find a thread on there with mine and other Square Roots listeners' friend codes. But it's fine. Hey, if you like Final Fantasy Tactics, give it a shot. It's free. I'm not spending any money on it. That's for goddamn sure. Any questions? Anybody want to... Vanessa?
Hi.
Damn.
I think she's playing Animal Crossing.
I'm not playing
She
Animal
is.
Crossing.
This is like the third episode in a row.
I'm listening very carefully to Matt talking about Final Fantasy Figadus.
Well, you're the only other person that's played Final Fantasy Tactics, I think. So what do you think of shitty gachapon Final Fantasy Tactics?
Well, I haven't played it,
Oh.
nor have I played Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which is the gachapon of Animal Crossing.
Is that a gachapon?
Yeah.
I think yeah.
That's a bummer.
So, in general, I can see how the tactics format would lend itself really well to a mobile game. However, I don't want to play it.
Nintendo did a decent job doing something similar with their Fire Emblem mobile game, where they shrank the levels, but they went fast, so it didn't feel as tactically in-depth, but still was satisfying. But I think that this one kind of maybe fails, but I'm not that far into it. Well, anyway, I know nobody's really super into it. It's got very pretty music. The graphics and stuff look great, really. So shockingly enough, summons look great. All the classic summons and all that stuff is there. So if you're a listener, if you're interested, check it out, I guess. I don't know. Or don't. It's not really worth it. It's a fucking gachapon. So every day you're like, here's my new team of characters I'm going to play with today, I guess, because they're the rarest of all the ones I have. Gachapon games are done. What about you, Jim? How did you level up?
So, guys, I watched 2 movies the past 2 nights, and I want you
Wow.
guys to pick which one I talk about.
Okay.
Yes.
First, talk about 13 going on 30.
That was not one of the movies I watched.
Okay. First, talk about.
I'm going to tell you the names of the movies, and then you guys tell me which one you want to hear about.
What women want.
First, talk about
I'm only
going to
say the title, but it's not any words that you guys have used. So stop saying stuff. The first movie is called Dark Waters.
I've used those words before.
You did not recently. The second movie is called Vivarium.
Now,
That I have never said.
Dark Waters, is that the one with the lady from Labyrinth and there's like ghosts and stuff?
It's like Jennifer
No.
Connelly?
Yeah.
No, that's Dark Water, singular.
Oh.
Oh, boy, this
Yeah.
is a tough one. I like the name Vivarium, so I'm going to say Vivarium.
Okay. One for Vivarium. John, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Dark Waters.
Whoa. All right, Vanessa, tiebreaker.
Well, I've never
Spoiler.
heard of Vivarium, so I'd like to hear what that is about.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little movie I watch called Vivarium. It stars Jesse Eisenberg
Vivarium.
and Imogen Poots.
Boots.
Imogen Poots.
And they play a couple who go to visit a house in like this new development, like a cookie cutter development, and find themselves unable to leave the neighborhood. They get trapped in like this little pocket dimension in the suburb, and they're forced to raise a little
Ooh.
kid. And the movie is about them like having to raise this kid before they're released from this suburb. And like they're the only people they can see there. So they're totally isolated.
Weird. Is this a horror movie?
It's like a science fiction thriller.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And what's it on?
It's on Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
Yes. No, I'm not sure if it's a Prime
Nice.
movie. I might have
You
rented it.
motherfucker.
But it's really good. It's pretty recent. It's from 2019. Rotten Tomato score is really good. And it's really tense from the first part to the last part. So
And who does it star again?
Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots.
Is she a singer, or did I make that up?
No, you're
You
thinking
made
of
that up.
Bjork.
Imogen Heap? Imogen Heap
You're thinking
is
of
a singer.
Imogene Toots, the country singer.
No, Imogen Poots was in like she was in Green Room. If you ever saw Green Room.
I did not.
But yeah, it's a good movie. You guys should see it if you like science fiction thrillers. It doesn't like have a lot to say like really good science fiction movies do, but for what it is, it's pretty good. I liked it. Vanessa, how did you level up?
I've been playing a little game called Doom Eternal.
No,
What?
you haven't.
April Fools, I fooled you. I haven't. The other day was flipping through the channels and came across a movie called Mission Impossible. It was like halfway through, and I started watching it. And then next up was a movie called Mission Impossible 3, not 2.
Mission Impossible 3 is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, three's good.
They
Two's
caught
trash,
wise
so
that
that's
2
good.
is trash, so they didn't show 2. So then I watched Mission Impossible 3, and then I was like, I wonder if I have the other movies like on demand. So then I watched Mission Impossible 4 and also Mission Impossible 5.
I
Nice.
don't remember what's the subtitle for 4.
I think 4 is Ghost Protocol
That's
and
Jeremy
5 is
Renner
Rogue Nation.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, the newest one, the Rogue Nation
Rogue
one,
Nation.
where Henry Cavill's cocking his fist before he gets in
Yeah.
the fight.
No, that's not the newest. That's
It's not.
That's 5,
No.
I think.
Yeah, that's 5. The
Which
newest
one's
one,
next, then?
Was there a
Fallout.
new one that I never saw?
Yeah.
Wait, Fallout. Henry Cavill's the one in Fallout.
Yeah, so that's the
Yeah.
one I haven't watched yet. It is on the on-demand machine, and I probably will watch it
Oh
because
man, it's
It's
really
super
good.
good.
those are just
If you like
good
those
movies.
movies.
I
Yeah.
always want to go into those movies really skeptical because, like, I don't know,
Right?
I always want to be biased of Tom Cruise, but those movies are so good.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just
like
good movies.
this man is probably trash. Or, the most generous interpretation I have heard of him is that he really wants to get out of Scientology and that lifestyle, but they have too much on him and he can't. All the way to he's essentially running it and is totally complicit in, slave labor and brainwashing.
You know what? I will say, though, like, if the former is the case and Tom Cruise is worried about whether his audience will forgive him if a bunch of really terrible stuff is released, as long, there are lines, but I'm willing to forgive a lot for Tom Cruise. If he was like held like captive for blackmail.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's like a sex tape or something, yeah, totally. I forgive you, Tom
rumor
Cruise.
about him has been the same for years, and it's something that is nothing to be ashamed of. It is totally forgivable. So,
oh sure,
I don't know, but I have no insider info. It's just people talk. People talk.
I've never talked in my life, ma'am.
Other than that, what have I done? I do nothing.
Well, we're all doing nothing right now.
Yeah, John, how did you level up?
Well, I leveled up by playing some more old games. I went and plugged in my Wii and played some old Animal Crossing, which was disastrous, but I won't go into why. And I played Path of Neo, the second Matrix game for...
Is that as good as I remember it?
No.
Okay. I've experienced that a couple times with older games that I thought were amazing and then went and played them and they weren't.
It's still neat.
Final Fantasy VII.
And the combat is sort of a predecessor to the Batman games. Like, it's very, very similar to the Batman style combat, but it's like running at 15 to 20 frames per second, and it's just super kludgy, and it's hard to get the combos done. Like, it's not as responsive as like one of the good things about that Batman game is like the controls are spot on. Like, you do this one, you hit
absolutely
the button and it happens. It's really fun to play. It's still fun. Like, it's still like you're doing crazy Matrix moves and stuff, but it's not quite there. You can tell it's like they're getting towards something good, and it's a lot. In some ways, it's a lot better than Enter the Matrix, although Enter the Matrix had better focus mechanics. Like, when you turned on slow motion and Enter the Matrix, it worked really well. That was the one part of that game that was great. In this game, it's not so good. The bullet time doesn't work as well.
Gotcha.
And I also, I just kind of been booting up old games and playing them and having, little bits of fun. I booted up Doom 3, which comes with Doom 1 and 2. And
that's
I was
a great
playing
game.
Those. Doom 3 is a little too jump scary for me because
It's
every
like
door.
that's its whole thing. It doesn't have. It's not subtle.
No,
None of the Doom games are subtle.
it controls super well and is really fun to play. And it's fun going back and playing like Doom 1, which I think I talked about last time. But yeah, I've been having fun with that. Going back and playing those, and playing more Animal Crossing. I also bought Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions for the Vita because it's cheap now. That game is pretty cool, and it's interesting seeing a good translation of it because I've never played it with a good translation. Otherwise, I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I liked, but it's not my favorite Tarantino movie by far.
What is your favorite Tarantino?
I think it's either Kill Bill, like the whole thing, or Hateful Eight. I think they're both amazing.
Whoa, Hateful Eight. That's a hot take, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually still have never finished that. I should watch it. It's been on Netflix for like 10 years.
I really, really like it. And this was good. Like, it's definitely worth a watch. There's definitely something about spouse killing that reminds me a bit of Tiger King. And it's very interesting because they sort of show the start of what happened and not the end in a very fascinating way. And there's a lot of that in the movie. Like, it's not what I expected. It's really kind of a love letter to Los Angeles and like how Los Angeles has all these old landmarks and crazy roads and how Los Angeles sort of encourages driving like a maniac because it's really fun. Don't drive like a maniac, though.
I saw on the Facebook you were talking about how you love to zip up and down Mondeo Drive with your Mulholland Road, Zippy Loopy, in your fast car, LA, zooming through the valley,
That was on Twitter.
talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I was saying like that's not something I would do
What a
now.
hypocrite.
Well,
What a hypocrite.
What a hypocrite.
it was 11 years ago. We all
You were 11
changed.
years ago.
But yes, that I do miss driving around LA. It's a gorgeous city full of lots of weird landmarks from the 50s and 60s that even though I wasn't around for, I have a weird nostalgia for.
Oh, perhaps you were in Los Angeles in the golden age of cinema in a past life.
Ooh, I like that
Whoa.
idea. Let's see. Vanessa, have you leveled up yet?
Oh, I sure have.
Matthew.
Well, I think we've all leveled up. You're the last one, John.
Oh, okay.
You guys want
Matt
to talk about
didn't
Final
get
Fantasy
forgotten
VII?
for once.
What? Who?
You guys ready to talk about Final Fantasy VII?
Oh,
Fuck yeah, I am.
This whole chunker is about 3 hours of cutscenes. So
Is it that much?
Let's just review very quickly the big things that happen in this episode. There is snowboarding. That's it. That's the only thing that really matters.
mm-hmm.
John's favorite mini game.
It's better than finding the harp minigame. That minigame sucks.
I don't know which one that is. Finding the heart.
Harp.
You know what I realized? I never even went to that Fort Condor thing. Like I don't even know where it is. I never touched it.
It's right next to Junon.
You know, I don't think I need it. I'm getting more and more comfortable with just turning on the like refilling limits and health button when I get to bosses in this game because I don't want to fuck around. Like
I want to go back and do it a couple of times, but I'm not doing that 15 times because each one takes like half an hour.
yeah, I'm not listen, I mean this is not going to come as a shock to any of our listeners, but I'm not platinuming this game. It's just not fucking happening.
Well, neither am I. I don't think any of us are because Jim doesn't want to do the million gil.
I heard Vanessa is.
You
Yep, she
heard
confirmed
wrong,
it.
sir.
Damn it. Thought maybe she wasn't paying attention and I could like.
Why
go
do
faster
you all
on
think
her.
I'm not paying
You're
attention?
being very quiet.
I told you I have a sore throat.
Aw, okay.
Hey guys,
Hey,
Hey.
it's Jim.
what are we talking about?
Final Fantasy
Talking
VII.
Whether or
Which-
not you're going to platinum this game like you said
Which
you were
part?
going to.
I'm not going to do the guild thing.
No.
You have to do it.
I would have to level up like 20 or 30 of the all materials. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you can do it.
No.
It's the end of the game. You can take a save and just sell everything in your inventory.
I tried
Sell all your
that.
weapons.
I did. I
Oh,
tried
really?
that.
Smart. That's funny.
I sold all of my materia and all of my items and was only like a fifth of the way there.
Oh
Jeez.
boy.
Okay.
We're starting with Bone Village.
Bone Village.
Oh. This is after we could not get the keystone here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, Bone Village. And
Hi, I'm here too.
Hi, Vanessa.
I'm just
Did you
gonna
guys
check
look
in
up
and
where
let
to-
you know that I'm paying attention.
Thank you.
As she says as she boots up her Switch. So did you guys have to look up where to find the harp?
Yeah, I fact this part. I had no interest in fucking around.
You can do that?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Wait, isn't it just in the ground?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I like to do it. Yeah.
Because I played this, I actually did this mini game
Dig a
more
hole.
than just the harp. I got the 2 weapons you can get.
Yeah, I did this minigame a whole bunch.
Did you have fun?
How come?
No,
Oh.
but I did it.
Yeah, it's not a good one. It's definitely on the lower tier of the 8,000 Final Fantasy VII minigames.
Yeah, it's just like make a triangle is the game, essentially.
But there is a harp that is buried here. You need it to get through the Forgotten Capital's sleeping forest that surrounds the path to the Forgotten Capital. And otherwise, you'll just get lost in there. And this is something that's been in other Final Fantasy games, like to get through mines that had an anti-magic field and stuff like that. There's a few times you need like harps, a lunar harp. This is not the first
Oh, really?
Lunar
I
harp.
don't remember this.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy IV has it. I think I think 3 and 4 both have it, but 4 definitely does. So you have to go and dig for it because they're like, well, there's one
When are we
here.
going to play Final Fantasy IV?
I don't know. Sometime.
Let's play it next.
Nope.
I
April
want to play the
Fools.
one with the dragoon and
That's 4.
That's the Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the
okay.
Legend of Dragoon. So you have to dig for it, and there's a mini game. We'll talk about that more in the mini game corner. And eventually, and you can keep
Sucks.
going and getting more weapons and stuff there if you'd like, or you can just move on to the Sleeping Forest so you can pick up your Kujata.
Excuse
Yeah,
me,
we
my
talked about
what?
this last week. Did we rate it though?
We did definitely rate Kujata before.
Kujata, Vanessa, that's materia. Summon.
Okay.
Summon materia.
Summon
Did you not get this one?
materia.
It's with every element.
I didn't get it. Is this the one that roly-poly all over?
No, this is Yeah,
It's
well,
a
yeah,
bull.
it does a fire magic that kind of roly-polies, right?
It does a
Like a
ice and then a fire and then a lightning.
Starts with lightning.
Yeah.
No,
It
I
does an
mean
earth
to
too,
get
'cause
it.
It ripples the ground.
And there's a
But
puppy.
Do it
No.
roly-poly. Is that how you get it?
No, it's rolling
No.
around on the forest floor.
Yeah.
That's what
It's
I'm
just the
trying to
material.
say.
Is that what you mean? Are we literally sitting here trying to interpret Vanessa right now?
Why won't you
Vanessa
listen to
Ease
my
has gone
words?
too far.
I was very clear. It's the materia that go all roly-poly.
Yes, it is indeed the one that go all roly-poly.
I didn't get it.
Well, it's pretty handy except for if the enemy has any sort of element, because if it has any sort of element that it is, what's the word I'm looking for? Positive to?
Yeah, like
Fond of?
aligned with,
It will
absorb.
instead get healed.
Yeah.
Which is obnoxious.
Yeah. But it's a cute one. It's like a little elemental puppy.
What?
It's an elemental
I think
puppy.
there's only one person here who's able to tell us if it's cute or not, and that is our resident materia grader.
But he graded
We
it
did that
last
last
time.
I did.
Because you can get it
You
early.
would have known that if you weren't playing Animal Crossing.
I wasn't playing Animal Crossing. God.
Vanessa definitely did a better job the last episode of pretending she was paying attention
Yeah.
than she did the episode before that.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
know what's up. We were recording last week, and I was looking at my Twitter and saw that she was posting pictures of her Animal Crossing characters. And refrained from saying anything on the show at the time.
If I'm
Instead, I figured I'd
posting
stew
on
it for a week and be
Twitter,
passive-aggressive about it.
if I'm posting on Twitter, I'm clearly not playing Animal Crossing.
So, through there, you get to
Oh,
Coral Valley, which is you just walk through like a tree stump and stuff. Not much
Gotta get a
there.
drink.
But next, you go out to the world map and you see the Forgotten Capital, which looks like it was built on petrified mushrooms, like the flat.
Yeah.
Everyone's dying without me.
Things get trippy.
I do like the design of this whole city, though.
Yeah.
It's like they kind of built it into, I mean, until you get to like the under the lake part, but it's like they built it into like really big pre-existing structures.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it was built on giant mushroom things.
Yeah, and like when you like the big shell part too, like that you see a couple of times is really cool how they build the stuff into that.
Mm-hmm. And you sort of walk around and you feel Aeris's connection or something, like Cloud sort of knows she's there somehow.
That happens a little bit. So like when so the game shepherds you along a certain path here.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can go check out the entire city, but like you can't progress forward until you stay at one of the houses.
Right. And
So you can zoom all around and find everything you can, but the game will not let you like go beyond this area until you stay at the basically the inn.
I found Comet. I was very excited about that.
That's one of the best materials in the game.
And I combined it. There's also a materia you get around, or no, it might be in the crater, that like increases the MP cost of something, but will make it a lot more powerful. So I combined that with
Ooh.
Comet.
Is that the Magic Plus?
Ooh.
Yeah.
What about
So,
these thingies that are like, you can't speak French? Move along.
What?
You know, you run into these things and they're like, sorry, you don't speak French.
Oh, yeah, no. So, like, you find these, they look like turntables in some of the houses, and Cloud will try to touch them, and there'll just be lights, and he'll be like, oh, I just can't understand it.
Oh, I don't think I messed with those.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
so,
all
like,
over
he
the
says,
place.
Like, he can hear a bunch of voices in his head, but he can't make out anything specific.
Yeah, because they're like, bonjour, bonjour, où est la bibliothèque? Quel du fromage?
So after you stay at the inn, Cloud gets awoken in the night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this is what you were referring to, John, when he said he can feel a presence.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes to the inner sanctum part. It looks like kind of like a band shell, like a concert band shell.
Mm-hmm.
And he enters, and where you couldn't this part, the first time I played this game, I remember being stuck here for hours because you're supposed to walk down like a fish.
Well, it's like little blue plates, right? They're like, it's sort of...
Isn't there like an area here where you have to walk down? Like there's like coral in the center of one of the rooms, and then if you flip a switch or something, it turns into like a fish, and you have to walk down the fish.
I don't remember that, but sure.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, yeah, we've got it. Matt doesn't want us to talk about Aeris until he's back.
Unfortunately, the person who knows what you're talking about is Matt, and he has stepped away.
Mm-hmm.
Jim is Googling walk down fish.
I am. So it's in the same room that you get the comet materia in and that you have to stay in.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just didn't do this.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's not a fish yet, though. It turns into a fish later.
That's what I said.
Does it
I said it's like a coral or like inner decoration when you first start, but later it turns into a fish.
like later
yeah,
in the
but
game?
not when you're walking down it.
Oh, I thought you had to walk down the fish.
No, it like turns into a fish after you've already walked down it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Anyways, sorry.
So
What turns into a fish? Sephiroth turns into a fish? April Fools.
Oh, you got me.
So, so you get down to under the city, and it's like there's a little gazebo sort of dealy in the middle of this glowy. Is this like life stream water,
It doesn't really say.
or is it just regular water?
I think
I
it's
mean, I
water,
think
but
it's-
everything sinks in it, including materia and dead bodies.
I would call it irradiated water, since that's what this whole situation is.
Like a heavy water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a water softener if you're gonna shower with it.
Yeah. And you need extreme anti-rad if you're not gonna...
Right.
Never mind.
Wait,
Fallout
you think
reference.
that this is a Chernobyl?
I mean, do you not... Is it not, though?
What?
Is this not uranium? Materia is uranium.
Is
Prove
it?
me wrong.
I don't
Give
think
me a
it
piece of
is.
uranium, and I'll try to cast lightning.
I'm going to have to cut that out of the show, because even though you're clearly joking, the FBI will storm your home.
So Cloud hears Aeris's voice coming from like deep in the Mushroom City, and you got to follow that till you get to
Deep
this
in the Mushroom
one
City.
house area. So I'm trying to find this fish thing that Jim's talking about.
John, I like the idea of John just trying to Google the fish.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going down those steps, and it looks
It's like a clownfish.
and you're going into this
Yeah.
these steps into Tron, which is it looks like a Tron town. It's full of crystals, and there's like a little Disney castle in there, right? And that's where you get this little it's not really a gazebo. I guess you'd call it like a what's a word for it? It's like a big platform. I'm gonna say like not a palais.
Twitter?
Yeah, a butt.
Yeah, a big butt. It's like in the Sir Mix-a-Lot video for Babies Got Back, where they're all dancing on a giant butt.
What are those called? I know what it is. Ugh.
A podium? No, it's a different word than that. Anyway,
Like there's a bunch in like Arizona, right?
A step?
Nevada. A step? No, that's not what a step is.
A plateau?
A plateau?
Sure. So you get up there. Aeris is praying and not paying attention to you. And then Cloud does take out his sword. And you can't not do this.
Yeah, he almost like brings his sword right down on her head while she's praying.
Yeah, you get like some red flashes, and it's one of those things where he's being puppeteered by Sephiroth. And so you are you just have to. It's almost like do you remember the game BioShock?
Would you kindly remind me about it?
Do you remember
Never
the
heard of
part where you are compelled to smash someone's head in with a golf club? And
Would you kindly clarify what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
So there's a very important character in the game BioShock you meet, and he has a sort of control over you and tells you to beat his head in with a golf club, and there's nothing you can do, and it's just like this. It's a very similar kind of scene where you can't not do it. You have to do it if you want to keep playing the game. So you raise up your big old swordy sword, and then you're about to chop it on down on Aeris, and she's like, "Hey, Cloud, what you doing there, buddy?" And he stops, only for someone else to show up.
Bum, bum, bum.
Is it a friend?
Checked.
It is not a friend.
He's like, "Hey, kid."
Who is it, John? Who is it?
It's-
Who is it?
It's Sora.
From the sky, Sephiroth drops with his giant sword and impales Aeris.
But she's
Now-
okay though,
No.
because you give her a phoenix down.
No. The sword is too good. Phoenix Downs do not work.
No, this happened in a cutscene. You can't use phoenix down.
Yeah, you can't undo cutscene deaths. That's the truth in Final Fantasy. So, like, the sword goes in, the sword goes out. She flops, and like, I guess it's a little piece of materia that's holding her ribbon in. Plops down.
I've always wondered. I always thought she had it like tucked in her hair, and that she tied her ribbon or like around her hair with the materia in the middle.
Now that's the one
I
her
just thought it
mom
popped out
gave
of the hole in her tummy, you know? Like it just popped right out of her tum-tum.
But that's the one her mom gave her, right? The one she says she didn't know how to use. It doesn't do anything.
Yes, she probably ate it because she didn't know what to do with it, and it just popped right out the tum-tum.
That's actually kind of not what Matthew said, but what John said is it's kind of a charming thing, that because like she says that earlier, like I have this materia that my mom gave me, and it's absolutely useless. It has no use. And Cloud says, which is kind of an asshole thing to say, he's like, you probably just don't know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, I know how to use materia, but this one just doesn't do anything. But it turns out it's the only important materia.
You know what?
Is it? What materia is it? Is it the black
Holy.
materia?
That's
No,
holy.
It's holy.
Wait, did I not get that?
You don't get it yet.
Oh.
You don't get it ever, I don't think.
You know what?
Can we talk a little bit about the Mandela effect? Because
Okay.
I distinctly remember Aeris dying maybe way earlier in this game in Midgar in her garden.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that is not what happened.
How'd she die in her garden?
I mean, the exact same way.
What I like about the Mandela effect is that people are so convinced that their memories could not be faulty, they have to assume they're from an alternate universe and have skipped over.
It's true.
The egotism of it is incredible. And here Sephiroth makes a point of saying, hey, because Cloud's like, I'm real upset. And then Sephiroth's like, no, you're not. You don't know how to feel emotions. You're just a puppet. And then you fight a version of Genova called Genova Life.
Genova
Bum,
Life.
bum, bum,
You know, this is something that like I feel I honestly, and like I felt this way the first time I played it, I still feel this way. This boss fight in the middle of this really sad moment really like fucks up the tension of this whole scene.
I feel like you kind of had to have some sort of boss fight, but it's not a hard. Well,
Why would you not just fight Sephiroth and
That's
have
the
it be
thing.
like a force lose?
That's the thing.
Like-
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I would have done, Matthew. Is like you could have tried to like react to Sephiroth, and it just would not have worked. One, it would have made Sephiroth a lot more threatening.
Making one hit the whole fucking party.
Yeah, and two, like it would have made more sense, like thematically, considering what they like. Sephiroth is a big bad, right?
yeah. Instead of like little pieces of Genova.
Yeah, like because like Genova's just getting like pooped around everywhere, and you have to like fight her every time one of her limbs falls out.
Yeah.
It's no way to treat your mother either.
No. Mother!
Tell your children not to walk my way.
So
John, you're I don't know if Matthew listened to the mailbag yet, but the Mother MP3 we got made is the best thing.
it's
cool.
really good.
I'm way behind on all my podcasts, unfortunately.
You should listen to the like supercut of the word mother being said in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Yeah, it's in one of our
it's way
emails.
longer than you think, and two, it's hilarious.
Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, the prequel to Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Wait, no.
It's a loop.
It's the post.
It's called the Wheel of Time.
Oh.
The prequel to the Final Fantasy 15 anime series.
So, yeah, you just
Wait,
get one-
this is part of the Wheel of Time universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is, Vanessa. That's what's so neat about the Wheel of Time universe.
Wow.
The Wheel of Time is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings.
That's a fact,
What?
jacked.
Really?
And a sequel. That's because it's a wheel.
Oh.
You understand how wheels work, right? They go round. and
Well,
round.
I saw the Wheel of Time in that episode of Lost because that's how they steer around the island. And it
Oh
looks,
yeah, that wheel's cool.
yeah, it looks like an
The
old
one that
pirate
like takes
shippy.
Ben to the desert.
Yeah.
Is anybody else really excited about the Wheel of Time show being slightly
No.
disappointing and kind of annoying you? Because that's
Nobody's
then
excited
it's gonna be
about this.
one of those things that certain people annoy other people about. Like, you've got to check out this great show. It's just like Game of Thrones. It's super great, and it won't be anything like that. It'll probably be like a fucking CW.
I thought we talked about the show like 2 years ago. Is it still not out?
We talk about it all the
it's-
time.
It's in production. It was filming, and the filming has been shut down because of the coronavirus, actually, which is a bummer.
Coronavirus is a bummer.
I agree. One thing I like after the boss fight with Genova, everyone has a different reaction to dealing with Aeris' death. Like Barrett puts his arm around Cloud's shoulder. Yuffie runs up and gives him a big tight hug. Tifa touches Aeris' chin. Did anyone? What's his face? I had Ketchi in my party, and he rocks back and forth like he's gonna poop out another prediction.
Huh.
So it does look like he is humping her body in reverse, like a reverse cowboy.
That's not good.
Did you have any party members that I haven't talked about in your party here give weird reactions to her death?
I think I had Yuffie, and I don't remember who else. Maybe Tifa.
Because I think Yuffie's reaction, I was surprised by, because I don't think I'd seen it before. I found it actually like really affecting that she just goes up and just hugs Cloud really hard.
Yeah, because I
nice-
do think of her as sort of a teenager, so she's kind of a child, and it was sort of a childish thing to do, but in a sweet way.
Yeah, I think it was one of the nicest pieces of animation in the game. And it's just in like the Popeye block animation. Jim, other than Barrett, Ketchi, Tifa, or Yuffie, did you watch any of the reactions they have to Aeris' death?
Like it's hard because like it's been probably a month since I saw this moment, but I had wait, do you have Sid in your party at this time?
Yep. You can have Sid and Vincent.
Because I had Sid and Yuffie.
Okay.
And I remember Sid just kind of hanging back and like he does the real. It's actually a toxic masculinity thing where like he wants to comfort Cloud, it seems like, but he can only like use his words from a safe distance.
Like a Kratos.
Yes, it feels like that kind of thing.
Right. Kratos as dad thing.
Yes. Well, like he can't show any emotion, but he knows what to say, kind of.
Right. And at this point, Cloud picks up Aeris and then dunks her in the pool instead of trying all his healies on her.
And she sinks because she's made of cinder blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe he put some rocks in her dress when you weren't looking.
He filled the butt of her panties with rocks.
Yeah.
And she just
It's
sunk.
like, time for the cement shoes, I guess.
Oh yeah, I did like that Aeris' theme plays through that boss fight too. That was
That actually, that's kind of the best part of that boss fight is her theme is playing the whole time.
So you climb through some shells, and then you go up a cliff face for the first time. This will not be the last of cliff climbing.
God, this part sucks.
Well, this is the easy one. You're just going up like cracks in a cliff. It's not like the cold.
Oh, right. And there's a ladder on the far left.
Yeah, exactly. You can get some.
Yeah.
some
And then, like,
goodies.
there's some pretty useful items here, actually.
Mhm.
I don't remember what they are, but I remember them being pretty useful.
And
But it's the part after this that is maybe the worst bummer of the whole game.
when you head out, and you are in the snowy north. And when you get outside, you can go to the Icicle Inn, which is a little town. It's like a ski lodge village. Where is this the biggest bummer in the game?
No, it's after this.
Oh,
the
okay.
whole northern part before the crater.
Oh, yeah. I was surprised how fast Matt got through this. Honestly,
I know.
because it took me like 3 hours.
It takes a long time.
But I did get like all the materia.
Does it?
Well,
Yeah.
I did not.
if you go and get all the material, because you can just freeze almost to death and then get rescued by the dude and then go north.
There's some
but I
yeah,
got
there's some good-
Alexander.
There's some good stuff. John said good materia. There's an optional boss here too, I believe.
Is that the one to get Alexander? That's the.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I fought that boss.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here if you take the time to when we'll talk about this in a minute, but
Yeah.
the map is totally useless.
Yeah, this is not good with a very, very bad map. So there's a few people in this town. There's an old lady who's looking for her husband who has disappeared. He was like a mountain climber, trying to see what was in the crater. And they offer to give you a map so you can go hopefully find him on the way, or you can steal the map without even talking to them. There's a kid who has broken his ankle due to snowboarding, and eventually you can get his snowboard. And there is a house that is owned by Professor Gast, someone that I've seen
this is
mentioned
optional.
once.
This is more Final Fantasy VII optional backstory.
I liked this stuff. So Professor Gast is. I've only really seen him in notes around the Shinra mansion so far, I think.
His model does not help to differentiate him from every other white coated character, though.
I think he has glasses.
Okay, yeah.
But
I
so
think
does
you're right.
so does Hojo, but he doesn't have
Yeah.
a ponytail.
Well, he has a shorter hair, not the ponytail.
Yeah. So Gast's he's got all these like video logs that fill you in on some backstory.
Yeah, so it shows him isolated in the first couple, isolated with Ifalna, who you might recognize as Aeris's mom, and he's asking her about the history of the ancients.
Right. And she's like, okay, so there's this thing we do called planet reading. When we get to a planet, it's like we talk to the planet. And there was a big wound to this planet, and they were all gathering at this wound to try and heal it. But this wound was caused by something called the Crisis in the Sky, which then started showing the Cetra specters of their dead. Like, it started showing them ghosts. This really does get really Final Fantasy spirits within-y. Like,
So basically, what you learn is that while the ancients were on this planet, this alien fell from the sky. The thing they call it the crisis from the sky fell into the sky, and then when they went to heal it, they found the thing was not dead, and it was basically the Thing from that Kurt Russell movie.
That's a great movie.
So every time they
actually.
so every time they tried to confront it, like that's why it freaked him out, because it would change the shape. It would change its shape and show them they're dead.
Oh.
But this thing also gave them a virus and turned all the Cetra into the monsters of the world.
Well, that's what you learn with, and this is. I think I'm kind of throwing out a fan theory.
Okay.
But my interpretation of this is that when they say that when it made them all sick is because, like, what you learn from everything that gets infected with Genova cells is that it eventually goes back to a Genova life form, right?
Okay.
So, like, they maybe would have gotten infected with Genova cells and become, like, a Genova monster.
Right.
Jim, you are an expert in the field of classic JRPGs. You don't have to call your theories fan theories.
Yeah,
they're called expert opinion.
They're called academic theses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd Genova come from, though?
Space.
It's the final frontier.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, just space?
Mm-hmm.
Well, space is very vast. It's like almost as big as Canada.
So
that was
Canada's vast.
It's true. It is. I've driven across it, and it took a long time, and I saw a moose. So the second video is about the weapon. So basically, to combat Genova, the planet makes a weapon. And Gas says, okay, so Hojo was wrong in saying that Genova was an ancient. Genova is this crisis in the sky, not a Cetra. And to fight
John, and can I do a rare retraction?
Sure.
I think last episode you referenced a calamity from the sky.
Yes.
And I told you that didn't refer to meteor because I was, and you keep saying crisis in the sky. Maybe I confused calamity for crisis.
Yeah.
And I might have overcorrected you.
Oh.
So it's not Calamity Ganon.
So when you said calamity from the sky and I said, oh, that's a red herring, it refers to Genova.
Yeah.
I might have been thinking, oh, when they say crisis from the sky.
Are you saying that they say both calamity from the sky and crisis from the sky?
It's fucking confusing, isn't it? It's
and they're
fucking
two different
confusing.
Things.
The only reason I'm self-correcting is because John has said
that
both.
makes sense.
Yeah.
They should have said calamity from the sky in both times. One, because calamity is a more dramatic word.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it's easier to remember.
And crisis from the sky isn't something we would say normally.
Well, yeah, and like calamity makes it sound like a big, like once in a generation event.
Right.
I think if you have a crisis, the universe gets rebooted, so DC Comics can make more money off of number ones. Yeah.
So to fight Genova, the planet makes a weapon, but in the end, it wasn't necessary to use it because the Cetra defeated Genova and like sealed it away. And so the planet like just kept, it's just keeping the weapon around as a backup.
Well, yeah, it says that the Earth created them, but they slumber until they're actually used.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely tells you that Earth that the planet. I don't think they ever say Earth.
Yeah, they always say the planet.
I think they call them planet monsters, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say the planet created the weapons.
So it is sleeping.
Well, weapon 2 is a code name because it's totally capitalized like radar. They never explain what it means, but like weapon is a code name.
Oh, okay.
Hey, have we still not managed to talk about the snowboarding yet? Because that's the most important thing in the game.
It's coming up.
It's
coming
up
right
in
there.
Just a second. We just got to talk about the last. So Ifalna says, the weapon is asleep. It's not dead. It's still there. And also, the planet is closely monitoring the situation, which I thought was a funny statement. And sounds like when the government is doing nothing.
So bad.
when the government's like, oh, we're monitoring the situation.
Yeah.
Does anybody else feel like and I don't know if it's the translation or just the video game or just the writing of the game, like everything is said in the most bland, like matter-of-fact way possible. Even
that's
like
a
people
translation
talking
thing.
about their emotions and like everything is just like, I am sad.
I feel like the whole like calamity versus crisis reference, that's like a distillation of the issues with this translation.
When we finally get to the end of the Final Fantasy remake in 2042, we'll know.
One thing I found it with the Final Fantasy games is they tend to either go really like direct translation like this for the older ones, or like a super flowery translation where it's like, doth forsooth we must get the weaponothicists, and like it gets really really kind of confusing and very complicated.
So faux Middle English,
yeah,
or whatever.
Except for Final Fantasy 13 and 15, which do a pretty good job of balancing the two, of a little bit of the weird fantasy talk, but it's also a good relatable translation. Like I think there's nothing wrong with either of those translations at all.
I think maybe some of what you're seeing is just the years between, like, this is a hobby for children so that we can, sell discs, to like, this is a fucking art form and we have writers that are professional writers.
Right.
Doing
I don't
these
know,
things.
like,
and
if
not just the
anything-
guy that also does the programming AI for the enemies. You know what I mean?
If anything, like, I feel like this game is over translated, where like they tried to like make things a little bit too conversational or too plain.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, there's just no
Especially
subtlety to
in the-
any of the dialogue.
Well, especially in the big moments, it's like when your dad goes to talk to you about sex, it's like they try to use these like too overly general terms, and it just ends up being nothing.
Right. So, the last two videos are they're records of the daughter's birth, 10 days in, and then
Wait, which daughter?
Oh, yeah, the daughter is between
Who is the daughter, John?
Aeris. It's the daughter of Gast and Ethelna.
And
What?
she's only like
20 days
like
old at
12
the end.
Yeah, like when they take her away from her when she runs away from her dad.
And I guess that directly leads to Elmira finding Ethelna, right?
It does. So what you
you're
learn
talking
is
about-
that Hojo gets Ethelna pregnant.
Hojo.
Or not Hojo, Gast.
Gast, yeah.
Gast gets Ethelna pregnant because he falls in love with her while they're like self-isolating in this northern town, and they're on the run from Shinra.
Mm-hmm.
And so right after Aeris is born from Nefalna and Gast, Shinra shows up, and Professor Gast sacrifices his life to protect Ethelna and Aeris, and they run away like when Aeris is just a baby.
And that leads to them showing up and Aeris's new mom getting the baby.
In Midgar.
Yeah. So that's it for Icicle Inn. You can go to the end, and then the guy's like, well, you need some kind of vehicle. At this point, the Turks show up, and there's a little tiny mini game where Elena tries to punch Cloud, and you can dodge it. I'd never get it right, so I always just get punched in the stomach.
I always get punched, yeah.
Did you do this correctly, Vanessa or Matt?
You're still at Gast's Lodge? I don't know what's going on.
This is where, so like, it's actually really funny both of the ways you play it, because if you're like John and I and you can't dodge the punch, you get punched and you get knocked out, and
Do
you
you
wake up
want to
and
hear if I did it or not?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I wasn't sure if you were paying attention.
I am paying attention. I keep telling you I'm paying attention.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
I did it right.
Oh, what happens?
Oh,
So Jim, finish saying what happens if you don't do it, and I'll tell you what happens if you do it.
Jim?
sorry, what'd you say?
Who's not paying attention now?
I was reading a Facebook comment I got tagged in the group. Okay.
So, Jim, what happens
Yeah.
if you miss the dodge, if you get punched in the stomach?
So you get knocked out and you wake up in another building in the town, and it's not near as entertaining as what Vanessa's about to talk about.
If you do it right, you essentially dodge her punch, and then she just falls on the floor, if I recall correctly. No?
I don't think so, right? So
It's been
I
a
think
while.
if you dodge her punch, she whiffs the punch and then rolls down the mountain, right?
Oh, that's right. She goes like over the edge. And
Yeah,
she's
she
just
goes
like,
over the edge and
Yeah.
past the guy who's gatekeeping the slope
Yeah.
and rolls all the way down the mountain.
She's just like, "Rrr," and then the other Shinra people are just like, oh, okay, and they walk away, but they won't let you leave.
So the Turks don't seem to really be after you. Once again, they're just kind of doing their own thing. And meanwhile, you can go get that snowboard from the kid who doesn't need it anymore and go down the hill that way. Because kid hurt himself. And then, Matt, you get the snowboarding mini game.
Woo!
The
Everybody
world
loves
famous.
snowboard.
The Great Glacier is not great. It is a large
No.
map where I guess if you take too long, you pass out of like cold exhaustion,
It depends on the
hypothermia.
map.
Oh,
So like some you can tell by the way your player character responds in the map, but there's some of them you can just run through, and some screens where you have to like warm yourself up.
I never got the prompt to warm myself up.
Well, I actually, now that I say that, I don't think it's in these screens. But if you go too far from what's in the map, I think eventually you'll pass out.
Yeah, I just passed out when I was like trying to get to the Alexander, and I passed out when I was about to get some materia.
I had to find like a visual walkthrough to get through this place and find all the different materias and items.
Yeah,
I did not find any materia.
I did get Alexander. You do have to like touch. You have to touch a hot spring and then touch this monster with your hot spring coated water. It gets very upset and you have to fight it. But then the reward is that you get Alexander, which is an amazing materia. I've never seen this
That's
one
a bummer.
before. It's a big old robo castle and it shoots lasers at the enemies.
It's super cool. I'm gonna say 5
Never
out of
seen
5
this iteration
cactuars.
before.
5 out of 5 cactuars. It does like this is one of the reasons why I was so excited to see Alexander in Final Fantasy 10 or 9. Was because it's kind of based off of the 7 one where he's like a big city.
Right.
And he sets himself down and just fires a bunch of lasers out of his head.
So if you do pass out, you'll wake up in the cabin of this climber named Holzoff, who I guess is the one the lady is missing back at Icicle Inn, right? It's the one who
Yes.
says her husband disappeared. And he's just staying there. He's kind of stuck, and he's helping travelers not die if they're trying to get to the crater.
Yeah, but I guess he can't go back either.
Yeah, he doesn't explain why he's not going home. But
He talks about his climbing partner dying.
Mhm.
And then he's just like, I'm stuck here. It's kind of the vibe I got, at least.
Right. So you, then he's like, hey, if you're going to climb up this cliff face, you got to watch your heat. You might get hypothermia. You got to warm yourself up if your body temperature gets low. And you got to go through this series of caves, which is not my favorite part of the game. It's, so you have the climbing mini game of keeping your body temperature up. It's pretty easy as long as you don't have 3 times speed on, in which case you can freeze to death real fast.
Yeah, this and like the cave that you go into to like fight the ice to like the icicle
Uh-huh.
is so dumb.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that. So there's one path you can't get through, but if you knock down all these icicles, you can do it. And then at the very end, there is a 2-headed Hydra-type monster, and it's called Schizo. I don't know why, but it is.
It's 2-headed, I guess.
I guess.
Like it's of 2 minds?
This one is fun though, because you can cheese it depending on what accessories you have.
Yeah.
So it can, if you have I think it's the ice armlet.
Yeah, or any water absorbing one.
Yes. So your characters will be healed by the attacks of one of its heads.
Yeah. And that makes it, I mean, at this point, I shouldn't comment on difficulty because I'm so over-leveled.
You are super over-leveled.
Yeah, I'm like 58 at the end of this chunker or something. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the this just takes a long time climbing up the glacier. Or climbing up the cliff wall.
Took me about 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And at the very end, you get to the top of the crater. And your party sort of comments on it. It's like, well, they sort of reiterate what's happening, that Sephiroth is using the energy of the wound healing because the planet was wounded here to gain power, and he's giving it to himself. You start walking through, and there's lots of clones around. Tifa, because she's so mad at Sephiroth.
What?
Clones? Like the little black
What did you
hooded
say there?
Lots of clowns.
clones.
Yeah, clowns. There's a lot of clowns around.
Lots of clowns
And do
around.
you know what they're doing?
Clowning
Clowning around.
Yeah. They've got the black robes. If you talk to them, they tend to give you items and then die. This is, I guess, the reunion
Mm-hmm.
that has been mentioned a few times now.
Yeah, class of 2005 reunion.
No one is practicing good social distancing.
No, they sure are not.
Let's
We
play
practice good
our
social
class
distancing
song. I like
here
girls
in the
who
Square
wear
Roots house.
Abercrombie and Fitch. I'd take her if I had one wish. But she been
And
gone
that's why
since
we're all
the summer.
recording in different
Since the
rooms.
summer. Mm-hmm. In our house.
Yeah, in the Square
Yep.
Roots house.
In the Square Roots house.
So here is a part of the game that literally glitches up on the PS4. I think especially if you use 3 times speed, when you're dodging the energy bolts to get through these windy
This sucks.
paths. It took me half an hour to get through the last one. Like I had to put the game down because I was getting so angry at it.
It's
That's
real
crazy.
bad. I only
It
had to do
definitely
it
took me like
twice.
3 tries.
Twice was still a lot.
It's still like at
Yeah.
some points it glitches out and breaks, and the graphics don't display right. And I think you're supposed to go through it a lot faster than I do. I was just having a lot of problems here. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I had a bad time. So you get to the and by the way, you get a cut to Rufus and the rest of Shinra, including Scarlet, on the Highwind. The big old airship, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Sephiroth is down here." Hojo's super excited. He's like, "Oh, this is that reunion. Everything like they're reuniting with Genova. This is so amazing." And they're wondering if Sephiroth is here.
And by wondering, you mean throwing themselves off of cliffs and into rocks?
No, the
die.
Shinra people are wondering if Sephiroth is here,
Oh.
like Rufus and Hojo and the Turks.
They're my favorites.
So you get to the top, and finally you see Sephiroth is there, and he is just mowing down clones until his body dissolves. Like Sephiroth just disappears. You can talk to one of the clones, and it dissolves and leaves you the black materia. Sephiroth shows up one more time,
Bum,
and I guess drops like
Why
another.
does a clone have the black materia?
I guess Sephiroth gave it to one of them because he's not actually there. You see where Sephiroth actually is in a second. You get the black materia again. Sephiroth drops another Genova chunk. This time it's Genova Death. And
This is not a fun fight.
oh, why is that?
I mean, just none of these Genovas are particularly fun, and they take a long time to kill sometimes. Even at 3 times speed.
Wow. I broke the game already, so at this point it's just like, oh yeah, there it's dead now. Yay!
I did a little bit of leveling, but not that much because I don't want to.
I didn't mean to. I was just trying to get Aeris up, and then I got lost in the ice fields, and I just keep ending up getting into way too many fights, which is why I haven't been able to finish Final Fantasy VIII, because I level up too much in these games. So then Cloud tells everybody that the real Sephiroth is here, and so that he should not be carrying the black materia, because he can't be trusted with it. So you can either give it to Red or Barrett, although you can try giving it to everyone else for funny responses.
Yeah, and they're like,
who did you give it to? Sorry, Vanessa.
they don't want the responsibility. They're like, heck no. The best is Yuffie, who's like, I usually really want materia, but not this time.
So the only two that'll take it are Red and Barrett. I gave it to Barrett.
I gave it to Red. I like him better.
Ooh, so you'll have a different cutscene in a second. Who did you give it to,
I gave
Vanessa?
it to Barrett.
So you give it to Red or Barrett, and then Sephiroth is like, oh hey, just want to show you guys some things, because like you got some weird misconceptions of what happened, and
Time for Sephiroth's Wild Ride!
yep, you get a Sephiroth's Wild Ride, where he shows you a vision of Nibelheim, and Cloud's
Yeah.
like, ugh, why are you showing me this? We've already gone through this.
So many
This
times.
makes it even more confusing that, like, even Cloud tries to gaslight you through the situation. And the fact that, like, the only person telling, or that, like, knows enough about what's going on to tell the truth is the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
The game is gaslighting you.
A little bit. So you sort of see, these are all the Nibelheim scenes you saw, like, back in whatever that town is right outside of Midgar.
Mm-hmm.
Nibelheim?
No.
Mibelbeim?
Yeah. And
Yeah, we open with Cloud on the transport with Sephiroth. When we saw the scene before, it was Cloud and Sephiroth and two unnamed guards, and one of the guards was feeling
no, we don't
motion
see
sick.
we don't see this part yet.
We don't?
No, that's later, the mention.
Why you call me liar?
Because this
Oh, Vanessa, spoilers.
this one starts out right in Nibelheim, and then Sephiroth walks in, except he's not with Cloud. He's with someone with black spiky hair and a big sword.
He looks almost exactly like Cloud, but he has longer black spiky hair.
Yeah, I kind of remember him having Cloud's exact haircut, but black, but it's not. He's got, like...
He's got
It's
a,
longer for
a
sure,
Dragon
yeah.
Ball
He's got Super
Goku.
Saiyan 3 hair
Yeah.
almost.
He does.
So Cloud changed his hair. What's the big deal?
That's a good point.
But it's
Sometimes
not
people
Cloud,
dye their
though.
hair.
They
How
don't,
do you know?
It's not Cloud.
Never heard of hair dye?
Answer
so-
the question, Jim. Have you ever heard of hair dye?
No, not in this universe.
Well, Cloud's like, I don't know who this dude is.
It's the Mandela
These
effect.
memories
He
are
comes from a universe without hair dye.
these memories are made up, and then cut to the fire that happens later on when Sephiroth goes cuckoo crazy, and Zack is running out there talking to Zangief, trying to help people, and Cloud's like, yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
It's Cuckoo Banana Pants.
Okay, Cuckoo Banana Pants, and not sorry, I shouldn't say Zack. Bleep that out. Someone is out there talking with Zangief, trying to help people, and Cloud's like, who's this loser? This isn't what happened. And then cut to Cloud in the middle of the fire saying, okay, Sephiroth, I know what you want me to say. I wasn't in Nibelheim 5 years ago. And Sephiroth is like, exactly. I'm just trying to get you to remember that you are just a puppet. You don't have feelings. All I'm showing you right now is totally real.
You've never been to Nibelheim.
Mm-hmm. He says, I want to take you back to your real self, a failed experiment that somehow turned out to be successful. And he...
And you
Nibelheim-
believe this, John.
Okay, well, I'm going through the game as it goes. Here's what Sephiroth
Okay.
lays out. He says, Hojo created Cloud 5 years ago. Hojo was born 5 years ago.
No, Cloud.
Cloud was... Okay, yeah. Cloud was born
So
5 years
Cloud
ago.
was born 5 years ago, and Aeris was born 20 days ago.
No. Aeris was born like 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait, did you not say that she was 20 days old a while ago?
Yeah, when she got adopted.
Yeah, when they escaped.
Well,
from...
when she ran from Shinra with her mom.
Yeah. So these are the things that Sephiroth lays out. Hojo created Cloud 5 years ago. He was constructed piece by piece after Nibelheim was burnt from parts of Genova's vibrant cells. He's a puppet made of vibrant Genova cells, her knowledge, and the power of Mako. He's an incomplete Sephiroth clone, not even given a number. That is your reality. And then Tifa's like, Tifa's super worried because she's like, no, I don't think that's how it happened. And Cloud's like, well, what do you think? She's like, I don't think what I remember is a lie. And then Sephiroth says, actually, Genova gives people the ability to change one's looks, voice, and words. Inside of you, Genova has merged with Tifa's memories, creating you. That there might have been a boy named Cloud who existed in Tifa's memories, but that's not who this is. This is just some clone experiment made 5 years ago from Tifa's memories and Genova.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what he says.
Doesn't.
This is what he says.
But Tifa's never had anything to do with this.
Well, she was there
Okay.
at the mansion
Well,
because
yeah.
he proves, because who knows if this is true or not. He shows a photo of Tifa.
John, can I just tell the listeners, John, when he said proves just now, just winked.
Yeah.
Like we were all going to understand what he was saying.
Sephiroth shows Cloud a really cool photo of him with someone with black hair and Tifa. And he's like, see, this proves everything.
It's a photo of Sephiroth and the guy and Tifa.
Yeah, sorry. Sephiroth, the guy with black hair, and Tifa. And Cloud's like, well, this doesn't prove anything. You could just be lying to me. Also, but back when I joined Soldier first class, wait, how did I join Soldier? I don't remember joining Soldier.
That's the thing.
Why don't I remember joining Soldier?
He says that, except for he says it more with like light flashes and slamming down into the ground and going crazy.
Okay.
John, I will give you credit. Like, the game really does at this point want you to think that Cloud was a clone of Sephiroth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think at this point. And if that's
like,
not
up
the case,
until-
then no spoilers, bro.
Yeah.
Like, up until the end of this chunker, like, that's what the game basically tells you is fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a lot of optional stuff to shake that off, I guess. So, you know what? I've been giving you a hard time. I get it.
I'm just going with what the game is telling me so far. So we cut back to the crater, and the Rufus and his gang of friends show up, and there's a big old weapon. It looks like a big statue is frozen in materia. Hojo is a super Debbie Downer about this whole thing. The weapon starts blinking, which is interesting. So he's like, oh, I guess it's awake. And then suddenly Barrett is in the middle of a green field. It's all wavy and looks like something from Chrono Trigger. Tifa comes up and says, well, okay, whoever's in your party at the time comes up and asks Barrett for help. And then Barrett runs off to go help Cloud. And then whoever's in your party starts laughing evilly. It's Sephiroth. I guess it has to be Tifa because Tifa's always in your party.
Anybody but Tifa, yeah.
Yeah. So then, Sephiroth starts laughing. Cloud and the gang pop in suddenly with Rufus. And then Cloud is talking about how it's time to do the reunion and meet with Sephiroth, like he is one of those clowns that Matthew likes in the black cloaks, clowning around.
Yeah, my favorite clowns.
Yeah.
Wait,
They go
hold
to the
on.
doctor
Clown in
and
the
they're
black
like, I can't
cloaks.
laugh.
Well, I said clone. You weren't there for this. Matt corrected me
Oh.
and said they're clowns.
I believe it was Vanessa that corrected you and said they were clowns.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The clowns
Not
in the
only
black
am I paying
cloaks.
attention, but I'm participating too.
Vanessa, like, she only, if listeners, if you notice, she only participates when we say her name.
Say your name, yeah, I know.
She was like, oh, yeah.
I'm not playing Animal Crossing, though.
Vanessa.
Vanessa is on camera, I think, to prove that she's not playing Animal Crossing, but she's also off camera, so we can't
Yeah,
see
it's just her ceiling.
whether or not she is playing Animal Crossing. And
Sometimes we see her forehead, so.
she's not feeling well. Don't
Thanks
forget
for
that.
alerting me.
No.
None
See
of
what you
us are
did?
feeling well these days.
It's true.
I feel fine. Been taking bike rides in the morning, having nice, healthy lunches at home.
So Cloud then says, "Hey Barrett, can you do me a solid and give me that black materia? I just need it for a sec." And Tifa's yelling
It's
at.
a red.
Or it could be red. This is in my version. Tifa's yelling at Barrett to not give it to Cloud, but Barrett can't hear. What happens in yours, Matthew?
The exact same thing happens in mine.
Oh, okay.
This is super stupid because the whole point of Cloud giving the materia is that he can't be trusted with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you have to hang on to this no matter what. But then as soon as he's like, can I have it back? They're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Didn't want it anyway.
And then Hojo starts apologizing to everyone, especially Tifa. He says, "I never lived up to being," in quotation marks, Cloud. Hojo is amazed that a failed experiment like this loser was successful, and one of the last things Cloud does is asks Hojo for a number. He starts begging Hojo to have a number so he could be one of the
This
numbered.
is really sad.
Yeah.
8675309. Is that not the number he gives him?
Yeah.
No, he gives him 24601.
So Cloud then flies up to the roof where he stands upside down. It's very odd.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Uh,
He suddenly is just attached to the ceiling.
Yep.
like he teleports up there, but nobody remarks like, "Holy shit, Cloud's on the ceiling."
Nope. Hojo's like, well, I guess this proves the Genova reunion theory. He thought that having Genova and Midgar would attract all the clones to Midgar, but instead they went to the crater of their own accord. But it seems like also Sephiroth is manipulating everyone to come here, and he's kind of gathering all these pieces of Genova for his own purpose. Sephiroth is kind of pooped out of the materia around him into a big poop chunk of materia, and guess what, Vanessa?
What?
He is shirtless.
Oh my goodness, that tapered pixel torso, all that hair, and even more so. Can't get
So,
enough
John-
of this Sephiroth.
John, a couple things here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where fan theories really start to diverge.
Ooh.
So, on one hand, it's the classic Final Fantasy VII thing where Sephiroth himself is responsible, even though he's been in the Northern Crater this whole time, he's been kind of projecting his consciousness out into the world. That's what you saw in the Temple of the Ancients.
Right.
That's what you saw.
Yeah, he's astral projecting
on-
like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so that's what you saw on the Shinra cargo ship. So you're led to believe that, at least if you're a subscriber to this theory, that's what's happening. So Sephiroth is a malevolent being with psychokinetic powers, and he can project himself astrally. That's your thing. There's another theory that honestly, like, I think makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
That Sephiroth is actually mostly dead throughout most of this entire game, and what you're seeing up to this point are remnants of Genova.
I thought he is dead. I mean, they say that Sephiroth died 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
they kind of make it seem like basically Shinra declared him dead is what I got from it. But like, my theory states that one, like, he is a part of the live stream. He's effectively dead at this point. But when you see him in the Shinra building, you only see him after you see the breakout of the Genova cage.
Right.
So, like, Genova actually escapes the Shinra building And
makes her own little
Genova
Sephiroth?
is responsible because she can change her shape and drop her limbs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually responsible for all the Genova and Sephiroth encounters up to this point.
That would make sense as to why they always end with a fight with Genova and not a fight with Sephiroth.
It does make sense, actually. So, like, after Sephiroth kills Aeris, you see a Genova limb drop, and that's when you have that boss fight.
Yeah, and here when Sephiroth is killing all the clones, you have another Genova fight, and on the ship.
Yeah, and whenever you see Sephiroth up to this point, it's always accompanied by a Genova boss fight.
Except for the Temple of Ancients.
Do you not fight Genova?
No, you
in the
fight a
Temple of
red
Ancients?
dragon and the demon wall.
But also, Sephiroth doesn't really come into physical contact with anybody here, does he?
He's slicing and dicing those clones.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, we do see him kill Aerith in the temple.
Yeah,
think
I kind of think that was Cloud killing Aerith.
it could be Cloud killing Aeris, or it could be like a Genova toenail.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Jim. If Cloud split Aeris in half and cut her down the fucking forehead, A, they would not have a body to drop like that because she would be cut in half, and B, also,
Number 2.
I lost my train of thought.
And furthermore,
What a good episode, everybody.
We try. We do
real
our best.
talk though, I feel like I'm just losing my basic abilities to communicate and function like a normal
we feel
human
like that
being.
too.
Oh.
Vanessa, when's the last time you talked to somebody on the phone?
A phone call? I guess
You need like
I mean, now,
that's what keeps me
technically,
sane, actually.
I think
Like,
now is...
I started calling my family members like regularly just to hear their voices.
Aw.
I've actually been doing that too. I've been calling people.
My mom's been
Yeah.
calling me since she found out that I've been sick. Every
No, calling
day.
actually helps. It does.
Yeah, I guess the last time was it was my friend's birthday, so I FaceTimed her. And before that, I mean, we recorded a podcast like 2 days ago. Does that count?
Yeah, but
No,
you're
it
not
doesn't count.
FaceTiming with us. Unlike everyone else, Vanessa refuses to make eye contact
Why do you
with
want
us.
to see my stupid face so badly?
Vanessa!
Yeah,
She
I
never
like-
turns
I
the
like-
video on.
I know. I like talking to your face.
I don't
Guys,
know
this
how to
Final
like
Fantasy VII
put it.
series is trash. We're never talking about the game.
This was like
I
our
mean, that's what
most
I like about it.
anticipated
It is
series.
cool to see Vanessa mid-episode, though. Guys, I've never seen Vanessa mid-episode.
That's not true. I used to have it on all the time.
No, you didn't.
Never had it on
When?
all the time.
All the time.
I will
Never.
pay to upgrade your internet so that you
It
can
was
FaceTime
like a
with
couple
us
days
instead
ago
of
or something. I just don't
I've
have
never
a
making
seen
me
place
look.
to like.
Vanessa mid-episode.
Sometimes
Okay.
she'll
Vanessa
she'll
the politician.
sometimes
She's got a
she'll
shirt on.
mess up
Look at
her
that
hair
sweet shirt.
so that she scares me with her hair all out and creepy.
Vanessa, you have the thickest hair ever.
She
I
has the
know.
thickest hair I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Don't get me started about vacuum cleaners around here. It is not pretty. Like legit, I have to go at it with the scissors.
Once I moved into an apartment once, and the bathtub wasn't draining right, so I used a stopper on it, and there was so much hair that came out of it.
Oh no!
It was like a giant human hairball.
I hope that you made your landlord take care of that.
No, I did.
Guys, I can't believe that, like, I've been on this podcast for, what, like 3 years? Is that what we just hit? 3 years?
4 fucking years, Jim.
4 years! Oh my god, I was 25% off. 4 years.
Oh yeah, this
is the
episode.
first time mid-episode this is the longest sustained live feed I think I've ever seen of Vanessa.
You are lying. When we did it, like
It's not a lie!
no, like 2 years ago,
I
I would have my
assume-
video on the whole show.
No,
That's
you
not
never.
true.
But it was like
You
always
never did.
pointed at your ceiling fan.
Yeah.
Well,
I assume when we do finally meet Vanessa in person, she will literally have like a sheet that she holds. in
I've
front of her the
met
whole
Vanessa
time.
in person. Thank you very much.
And so she wore a mask like a superhero.
There
She
is
like
a
had a
photo
costume on.
of her wearing a mask from that trip.
yes, I did wear a sloth mask
Yes.
for a period of time.
I like the idea of meeting Vanessa and her having like a domino mask on and being like, "You can't recognize me."
Yeah.
So
She leaps into a tree.
Back to the game.
I think what I'll do is the thing from Mission Impossible where I like put an earpiece in someone else's ear and they just speak for me.
Right.
So you're going to do the Impractical Jokers thing.
I guess. Like a man will walk up to you and be like, I'm Vanessa.
That would be great if it was like somebody that we already knew.
Oh, yeah. Like
Stan walks up and is like, I'm Vanessa.
Yeah, it's Stan. He's like, I'm Vanessa.
He just has like one earbud in.
Why does Vanessa want to do the jerk to us? It's not nice.
So
It's true. I've met Stan several times in person.
yeah,
So-
it's true.
Fuck.
So Sephiroth is in this chunk of materia. Cloud. There's a cutscene of Cloud sliding the black materia into the gooey jello that is this chunk of materia.
Yeah, what the fuck is this?
I don't know
We
because
get one of those fancy anime cutscenes too, where everybody looks all sharp and cool.
but speaking of what is materia, at this point, all the materia like turns to liquid. Like it all starts like all
Does it?
yeah, all the
That's not
materia
what
starts
happens.
dissolving and turning to liquid and like like splashing down, and they all have to run to escape the like tidal wave of creepy materia. Yeah, it does. Go back and watch the cutscene. It's really weird. And cut to their flight.
Really weird, you guys.
they cut. I'm just trying to finish this episode here.
I know.
John's like, I'm just trying to wrap this up.
It's gone on too long, and I've had a lot to drink since we started.
So they all run and suddenly are in the high wind. They are running out, and the weapon emerges.
Sid Highwind?
No, just the high wind. The weapon emerges from the crater. It looks like a
This
real
is cool.
Mecha Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a glowy mouth that starts shooting like weird circle bolts at the high wind, which barely avoids
Oh,
it.
cool.
There's a cutscene.
Those are stun bolts.
There's
John.
this amazing cutscene where Tifa and her breasts are almost blown off the ship.
What?
Is that Tifa or is that Aeris? That's Aeris, dude.
Aeris is dead.
Aeris is
Yeah,
dead.
Aeris is dead. What the fuck are you talking about?
Wait. It's not. Wait. Did you say Yuffie in a cutscene?
No, he said Tifa, and you were like, no, that's Aeris.
Okay, there's a cutscene now.
I'm sorry.
Tifa is on the
Mandela effect.
Tifa
I'm sorry, dude.
is
I know. I'm just a little drunk and I got confused.
This is a
Jim comes from an
disaster
alternate
episode.
universe where Aeris doesn't.
April Fools.
The disaster is going to be when I edit this fucking thing.
This is why I don't turn my camera on, because y'all stop paying attention. You're just staring
It's
at my
true.
face.
With your
It's even better with the camera on, Vanessa.
Oh, that sounded weird. Don't talk like that.
No, I mean it's whatever, guys. Whatever.
Don't. So Tifa and her this has as much breast wobble, even more so than the
Does
cutscene
it?
Jim made us watch to see Tifa's breasts.
I definitely, guys, when I saw this scene when I played the game, I definitely referenced this to you guys. I was like, her breasts are flopping everywhere.
Yep.
And I don't mean to say this like some sort of fucking douchebag, but I've never noticed her tit wobble before.
This is the most egregious like,
this
example
cutscene
of
is
it right here.
all
'Cause
about.
she's like kind of running across she takes one step across the deck of the high wind, and she like turns her neck, and like her breasts flop
Yeah.
everywhere.
and unfortunately, the weight of her breasts almost knock her off the ship. But then Barrett catches her at the last second.
Yeah, it's super hot.
That's, very realistic.
Yep.
Personally, I'm always falling over.
Vanessa's always has to have a Barrett around to catch her.
Mm-hmm.
So cut to Cloud is just in a black room. It's just blackness. There's nothing there. Tifa tries running after him, and then you get a flashback to Cloud. He's at a train station, back in Midgar, and very confused. He sort of remembers Tifa's name. He sees Tifa's like, Tifa? And she's like, Cloud. And he's like, yeah, that's right. I'm Cloud. And stands up and sort of acts a bit more normally. And he says they haven't seen each other in 5 years. And Tifa's like, no, it's been 7 years, buddy.
Oh.
And he starts telling her all about his mercenary life after Nibelheim. And some things seem right, but some things he couldn't have known about. And some things he should have known about he didn't know. And she's really worried about him. He says he's got to go somewhere far away, which I think is the reunion. I think that's what he starts talking about. But she's like, no, I don't want you to go. I want you to come here and join Avalanche, which is like basically he was a barely functional human right before the beginning of the game, which I think is a really cool detail. I think that adds a lot to the story when he like seems like this badass jerk jumping off a train when he was a drooling automaton seconds before.
He doesn't seem that
He
badass.
can only do that with the Genova cells and the Mako.
Oh, what, the flipping?
Right? Yeah, he can only pick up that sword because of the Genova and the Mako.
Okay.
Because that's like a soldier level. You know what? Whatever, John.
But I'm saying like he was barely.
Fuck you're talking about either.
He was barely functional at the train station, and I get the feeling like the mission to blow up the reactor was only a couple of days later, right?
I don't know.
They don't
A
really
few
say.
days, I think.
Yeah, they don't really say, but it seems like Tifa kind of nursed him back to being a functional human and like connecting with something from either his real past life or his imagined past life helped him be more human.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, because when she first started talking to him, he's like, like he's
Yeah, he has Mako poisoning really bad, is what you learn.
well, fine. Tell us what happens next, Jim. And that is the end of the chunker. Next time,
Did it?
on Square Roots, we're going to play to the end of Sid's Rocket.
Square's Root.
Square's
I
Roots.
can't believe we got through this episode.
Why did
Jim,
we name this show Square's Root instead of Square Roots? That would have made way more sense.
Jim, can
Yeah.
we also talk about Wu-Tai next episode?
Oh man, I can't wait to. I know everything about Wutai.
Okay, first of all, it's called Wu-Tai.
I know everything about Wutai.
Matt, why don't you lead me into my special corner?
Oh,
What's
hey,
it called?
I'm tired of talking about Final Fantasy VII. Let's talk about Final Fantasy VII. It's time for John's bullshit minigame corner.
Can we talk about
John's
snowboarding?
bullshit minigame corner!
We sure
talk about
can.
snowboarding?
But first,
Corner
let's talk
that
about
nobody
heart finding,
needs.
where you
Oh,
have
this
to
is the worst game.
you have to get everybody to triangulate. Vanessa really liked this game because Vanessa liked math.
Yeah, I like math and geometry. What this game is you go to the dig site and they're like, you want us to dig for something? And you're like, heckin' sure. And they're like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get 5 scientists to set off a bomb. And then when the bomb goes off, they're all going to look in the direction of the shock wave to indicate that it detected something underground. And then you tell them where to dig. And I'm like, what kind of business
And
plan is this?
It takes a whole night to dig. So
It takes
you
a
have-
whole night to dig. They all know where the object is because they're all staring at it. But
Yeah.
they still demand that you choose where they dig.
It's kind of like Chocobo Hot and Cold, but sucky. I would
It
say
just doesn't make any sense.
it's not good. Next mini game. Let's talk about snowboarding before Jim passes out.
It's almost like another game in and of itself.
It controls okay. You can catch balloons for some reason. They don't do anything.
I can't like whenever I played this game, I can't correct even if somebody put a gun in my head, I could not make Cloud stay in the middle of the snowboard lane. I'm always hitting the outside edges. Always.
I managed to do some jumps and get some balloons and stuff.
When I was watching a speed run of this, the person who was like a Belgian played this perfectly.
Oh, wow.
They were either in the middle of the snowboard lane or like they knew where to stand and not hit anything. And it was so impressive because I could never come anything close to this. I've tried.
Vanessa, how did you do at snowboarding?
I had no idea what I was doing, and I just kept going until I got to the end, and I'm like, thank God that's over.
I looked at a strategy guide, and the strategy guide was saying take a left and then another left, so that's what I did. And I got some balloons, although, once again, in the first version of the game, the balloons do not give you points because there are no points. It's like that improv game there with Drew Carey.
Yeah, whose line is it anyway? And please don't say it's with Drew Carey. It's with, who's the original British host of that? I'm Clive Anderson, and this is Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Clive Owen?
No.
It wasn't Clive Owen. It was Clive Anderson.
So there's another mini game, the cliff climbing, where you have to, like, every time you reach a plateau, you have to jam on square button to keep your body heat high. This would have been okay, except you had to do it 3 times. That was my only complaint. And the last minigame is dodging those dumb bolts. I hated it. I was no good at it.
What bolts?
The energy bolts to get through the cliff in the whirlwind maze. You have to, like, there's
This
these
is horse shit.
green
Oh,
things.
this is optional, I think.
No. You have to get there. You have to dodge these green bolts and wind to not get blown off. So you have to, like, wait for the animation to, like, slow down or the part where they're not there. I had a lot of problems.
It's terrible.
Yeah. And that's it. That's it for this chunker of Square Roots. I guess
Snowboarding was stupid.
we got some not minigames. We got some squarely againsts.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, what are you squarely against?
Oh, Jesus. You know, number one, can we not just spring it on a motherfucker? Like,
John's so over this episode.
roundly for he's got to record with a different fucking podcast in 30 minutes. He's all mad about it. Fucking cheating on us.
Can we just
John's just so
point
John
out?
just wants to be done.
I want to point out that Matt is complaining about us springing the segment that we do at the end of every single episode on him.
That's true.
Yeah, the moment's passed. The time for that was a few minutes ago. So, I am roundly for snowboarding. It's so stupid. It's so bad. You know what you can do if you're playing it on the Switch is you can play it at 3 times speed, and it makes it even dumber. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at the end of it, I was like, boy, that was a stupid experience. So that's what I'm roundly for. Or squarely against. What's the difference? I'm triangularly okay with. Jim!
I'm roundly for all the different iterations of this story that can happen, because I believe all of them. They're all true.
Ah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good
It's like
story
the
where you're
Legend
like,
of
I don't
Santa
know
Claus.
what happened.
The Legend
If you
of Santa Claus.
If you believe enough and with enough sincerity, you know what? It's all true.
Did I tell you about when I watched Gremlins with my nephew 2 years ago, and he was like,
No.
does that mean Santa isn't real?
In that
Whoops.
movie, Santa's dead.
I've had some experiences like that with my kids and watching the movie The Santa Claus, where for the first half of the movie, they're like, Santa's bullshit, right? And the whole time, my kids are kind of looking at me side-eye like, yeah, this is all bullshit, right? How do you explain to a kid that everything they believe is bullshit? One day, Connor looked at me and said, Connor is my young son. He is 8 at this point, so he's pretty young. So this was like a year ago, so he was 7. He looked at me and said, Dad, I know the tooth fairy isn't real. And I was like, oh, thank God. Here's $1 for your lost tooth. Never ask me for anything again. And his sister, who is older but really wants to believe, was like, and I was just like, nah, I don't have any patience. If the youngest has figured it out, you're just fucking too late.
Mm-hmm.
I think kids figure it out, but they like to pretend that they haven't.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
like
They're
get the
all
presents.
just a bunch of grifters, dude.
Yes.
They're all
Exactly
just
true.
a bunch of swindlers.
All right,
Yep.
Vanessa, what are you roundly for or squarely against?
I'm roundly for the joy of a child's imagination.
No, they're all grifters.
Kids are real pieces of shit.
No,
Jim
stop
Banks.
it.
Put the
Stop
quotes
it.
around that.
I'm roundly for the ability to know the difference between reality and pretend, but still have such a vivid imagination and see the world as so full of possibilities that, you know, a door could open to Narnia
Yeah.
in any given moment.
Yes. Like the possibility that Vanessa has not been playing Animal Crossing this whole time. Just an FYI. It pops up on the screen sometimes.
I can
now
see
that you've
both
got
of her
the camera
hands.
on, motherfucker.
Both of her hands for the first time on the podcast. I can see both of her
Both
hands.
of her hands.
It's a
at
good thing
this
you
moment.
can't put the Switch or a controller down.
I know. I've seen the Switch in her hand like 6 fucking times.
Okay. You want to like look around the room?
Uh-huh.
There's no Switch. There's no
What's on your lap?
Switch.
What's on your lap?
No.
There's nothing on my lap.
Okay.
Stop creeping to look at my lap.
Where's your Switch at?
My Switch
Where's
is in
your
its
Switch?
charging port.
Sure.
So,
It
John,
is.
what are you roundly for, squarely against?
You're
Well,
talking to
friends,
yourself.
I am roundly for
This is like
the
3 episodes in a
the
row.
anime
Just been bullshit.
nonsense that is all the cutscenes, especially the Crater stuff, which has gone full. I want to say this is Disc 3 crazy, but I
John-
feel like the game gets crazier.
John, how do you think they decided which cutscenes would be stupid blocky animations and which ones would be sexy fucking anime cutscenes?
I think they
Because there doesn't seem to be any logic to it that I can tell.
I feel like they reanimated some of them, like that. They were like, "Oh, this really came out bad. Let's redo it, but with good." Since we're spinning up the Square Hawaii, to do the movie.
What?
There was
Movie?
Squaresoft had a Hawaii office that was used to make the movie.
Oh, that's
What
right.
movie?
I recall that. Spirits Within.
Yeah, exactly.
The prequel to
And they
this
would
game.
do
The prequel. Yes, thank you.
they would do cutscenes for the games.
Yeah, exactly. And that just started up halfway through the making of the game, and they're like, "Well, these cutscenes are terrible. We need to reanimate them. Might as well do them at the place where they can do them well." But in later, like Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 10, all the cutscenes are very consistent. So this is the only one that's got like the weird 3 types of cutscenes. Okay, so once again,
Whoa.
playing till the end of
Sorry.
Sid's Rocket with Wutai included. Emails. Let's just not do any emails today.
We did
Why,
so
John?
many.
We did so many the other day. And
John, I can read so good.
Patreon. Let me just tell you
Why?
about the Patreon real fast. We got a $3 tier.
John is just doing
with
everything.
all the bonus episodes you could want to hear. We just put up one.
John, did you notice that we got like 2 new patrons during the course of recording this episode?
I did not.
We did.
That's amazing. For $5 a month, you also get access to voting, and we just voted on the next game, which I'll remind you
Whoa.
is Final Fantasy X-2.
Yeah.
There'll be one more vote, and sometimes we do silly votes in between, but there's one more vote this year. Later on this fall, we'll do another vote. So,
Mhm.
just so you know. And I see that there's some names coming in. Jim, why don't you read those 2 names first, and then the rest of the names on your list.
I'll
I
read
feel
all
like
the
I
names
was still
on my
trying
list,
to talk
John.
about what I was squarely against, but okay.
So, John, did you explain why we read these names?
Oh no, these are the names of all our Patreons. If you donate $1 or more, you get onto our Patreon list.
I have to read these Patreon names. Andrew and Kyle M. G-O-S-A.
I don't think it's
Those-
pronounced G-O-S-A.
It's like
Yeah,
Genova.
I don't know that that's how you pronounce those 4 letters.
I'm Jim
Andrew and
B-A-N-K-S.
Kyle M. Gosa. Excuse me. I'm going to continue. John is so disappointed. It hurts me. Nathan Poirot, Psyduck, more like Psysuck.
Yeah, more like sci-fi.
Always Aeris, Adam Zimmerman, Cloudy with a Chance of Meteor, Wash in the Wind, Amanda Douglas, Andres Rivera, Andrew Leinart, that one guy, Anthony Cruz, Army Hammer's
Ted
Crotch
Cruz?
Hammer, and I Am a Materia Girl,
Yeah.
Brady A. Berman, Aaron Bachman, Goodness Gracious, Great Gospels of Fire, Patrick W. Bears, Andy Best, Bree Girth, Mary Queen of Scoffs, Chun-Li 304, Mr. Mallard, Chris Ryan, Cyril the Wolf, Sexy Grandma's Boy Toy Is, Captain Awesome, Chris Penyak, Christian Go, Cloud Strife's Proud Wife's Loud Life,
Good job.
Dobby Skies Are Gray and White, and Cloudy Douglas.
What?
Material Lockdown is live at RPG Years on the Twitters, and Eric Garb.
We'd also like to thank Andy Best. The best Final Fantasy VII game is Guys. Hexagon, Tavis Nickerson, Florian Jonas Kramer, Wonderswan, Galindo, George Bailey, George Brady, Gage Lacarite, Gregory, PJ Enns, Randy Pierce, Knopford, Armin Hammer, Hudson Roth, Isaac Wright, Jake Dickerson, Metal Gear Solid 1 in 2021, that's never happening, Jameson, Jared Collins, Huxley Iguana, D. Jethro, You Got My Big Stuck in Your Wedge, Reddit is Harold Lauder, Jonathan Smith, Joshua Bennett, Sling Thing Ping Ringy Dingy, Justin Rash, Devin Sloan, Squall Would Beat Cloud in a Fight, I believe you mean Leon, Vanessa's actual mom, Citrus C, Rusty Kamada, Vanessa's fourth mom, Lex Averial version 1.224744871139.
The Phantom Scofflaws of the Opera, KGG Loth, Stephen Paget, James Hostetler, Grey Code, Alexander Jokic, Andy M., Matt Jorgensen, Miguel Torres, Michael Crawford, MB, Matthew Newlin, fine, say everyone's name, at least it annoys Matt, Paul Birsch, stay inside, you folks, Race
Wax.
Jenkins, Robert T., Cake Ninja, Joseph. Ron thinks that Cloud and Vincent are twinks and Sid is daddy. Robert J. Defendi, Robert M. Pullum, Ross Hartley, and Ryan Miller.
We'd also like to thank Sammy Mitchell, Mike Bloomberg as Shinra, Cameron Shoei, Sean Gonzalez, David Green, Brian Pitt, the best Bobby Midkiff I can be, the Mighty Monarch, Dr. Stephen Stone, G. Bailey, Stephen Kroc, Stu Skeel, Sean Walsh, T. Bumpkins, your pal, Xochitl Panacotta Flamingo, Benjamin Avner, Ari Corpivara, Tracy Tanoff, Tom, Rising Hopper, Tyler Petty, Justin Ham, Materia Girl, there's 2 Materia Girls, Captain Beef Swellington of the Taco Armada, Matthew Casterline, Ward Childress, and good, let the hate flow through you.
All right, everyone, that's it for this episode of Square Roots. If you like, you can email us at squarerootspodcast@gmail.com. Come see us at our Facebook group, Come see us at our Facebook group, the Square Roots Podcast group for smart, cool, very attractive people, or tweet at us. We are at Square Roots Podcast.
The Twitter is mostly a platform for me to show off my custom Animal Crossing designs these days.
Yeah, we've noticed.
And chat with your favorite streamers.
And chat with my favorite streamers.
Whoa,
I think you're doing a great job pushing out that good content.
Oh, thanks. I love Animal Crossing custom clothing designs, and I love streamers. So all you good e-boys and girls out there, I'm on your side, pals. You keep on busking. Keep up the hustle. Be consistent. Offer good commentary and good gameplay, and maybe you too can make a living off of playing video games.
Don't forget to rate,
Guys,
review,
John is so
and
mad at us.
subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm not
And
that
thanks
good of a streamer,
to
and
Tetrimino
I don't
for
think I
letting
really
us
have the
use
face
the
for it,
fantastic version
so
of
I can't make a living off
JENOVA
playing
and Birth of a
video games.
God.
Plus,
You
I
can
have like
support
a
Tetrimino on
certain
Patreon
level
or
and
check out their
standard of
YouTube
living that I
at
want to maintain.
Tetrimino
I've noticed that a lot of
VG
professional
Band.
streamers live in rural areas because I think it's more affordable than trying to be a professional streamer living in the city. The twist on that is that in rural areas, it's hard to get good, reliable internet, whereas the
Jim,
urban
just go.
areas have
Well,
them.
for the Square Roots Podcast, he's...
All right, everyone, for Square Roots, I am Jim Banks.
I'm Matthew Van Zant.
I'm Johnny Brandon.
And those are most of my thoughts about streaming video games, but not all of them. Let me go on. There's a difference between platforms. You have to be really careful in what you choose. There's Twitter, there's Mixer, but of course there's always YouTube, where a lot of people got their start, but many of them have now migrated to Twitter. Although some people will take their Twitter videos and chop them up into shorter YouTube videos. I really like to see people's editing skills at work.
Thanks for listening to the last Square Roots podcast.